Welcome. So this segment is on engrams. Engrams is another word for motor program. A motor program essentially is a pattern of movement. So they're stored in the front part of the brain. These patterns of movement. So we have engrams for every sort of movement pattern that we do. So vacuuming, there'll be movement pattern. Your body has a way of moving because of the vacuuming, and it remembers what that is. The muscles will be firing in a certain sequence, and the brain will remember that. Okay. So when we're learning a new movement, whether it's martial arts or some kind of sport or whatever, when we're learning a new movement, there's a lot of change that happens in the brain. So the synapses start to link up in a certain way. Okay. The muscles start to fire in a certain order. When there's injury or dysfunction, usually the muscles tend to fire in an order that's not very good, or not as useful as it could be. So some rehab programs require a certain kind of rehabilitation where you're trying to get one muscle working, get that working first, and then we get the next muscle to work in sequence, and the next one in sequence, until it becomes like a very unconscious thing. So in the internal martial arts, or the martial arts that I do, essentially with internal or external, we want connection. Okay, so it's really a type of motor program that we're always working on to make better and better. So the general idea is that power in martial arts has to come from the dantian, from this area here, from the waist, from the hip. So power goes through this part and is generated from this part too. There's also needs to be a link of that with the legs too. So exercises we give you, such as the qua squats, just look like it's just working on the legs, but it's having a big effect upon the spine, the movement of the pelvis, the relaxation of the arms, the effect of the chest on the ribs, the upper cervical vertebra, that movement. So it's actually getting this connection, particularly the pelvis to the feet or to the ground, but it's doing other things too. And the next level will be then adding in rotation. So it's the effect of the rotation of the trunk and the pelvis, and getting the knees to stay aligned, that kind of thing. So we're connecting part to part. So when the whole body's working as a unit, it's connected in a very strong and powerful way that more and more load, more and more force can be put into. If this isn't connected right, if the alignment isn't there properly, the tissue doesn't open properly, your body's too tense, there's only a certain limit of weight or pressure you can go into the system, until it's damaged. Okay, something will break, the weakest link will break. So it's usually the part that's not connected very well. Okay, so all of what I'm teaching will be gradually adding to this linkage, make it connect, every single part of the body connect. Okay, so the fingers to the fingers, fingers to the waist, to the shoulders, the fingers to the toes, a sense of connection with that, the fingers, toes, tongue, top of the head. So there's linkages everywhere, but it has to pass through the dantian area to get there. So we want everything to be movable. So I'll just demonstrate some of the movements. So we want the shoulder, so the shoulder blade, a lot of movement. The shoulder blade moves in 10 directions. A lot of people have conscious control over about 8. So we want that rest of that connection there too. We want the spiraling to come through the arms. There's going to be a big movement through the midriff here, through the ribs, the folding of the chest, the wave motion in the spine. We want each segment to be able to produce movement because that adds to power. And with that, there's also a twining or spiraling movement through the legs too. So the training I give you will aim to put this online. So your body can demonstrate this, can do it, and can do it naturally. And you keep developing that movement pattern over years. Linking this, it requires soft training to get that. Okay, your mind really needs to be in your body. You need to be able to relax tissue. That just comes as part of the process. But every joint starts to move like a ball bearing. Okay, so linking to the softness that I talked about in another clip, we want your body to be able to load into the center here. So I don't know if you just saw then, but this shoulder comes forward slightly. There's a concavity in the chest here. Loading going into here, so my spine's loading at the back. I'm still keeping some right correction in my head, so I'm not losing force in the head too. There's loading going into my pelvis, into my legs. So it's different to if I just do this, and then I want to do my punch. But if I can load, I'm just loading everything to a central point. Okay, I feel the elbows come in. There's a spiral in the elbows, in the arms. I feel it loading to here, it's loading into the ground, and then I can make my power. Then I load again, and make my power again. I'll load again. Okay, so when there's fast motion, there's mini loading all the time. You can do 2 or 3 motions without necessarily loading, but that's much more difficult to do. Even if you're doing a rapid succession of movements, that's the point where your body has to load again. Otherwise you keep losing power and you get fatigued very fast. Okay, so that's a really important concept. Thanks guys, good luck.